When I was writing Subspecies 2 and 3, I sort of wrote them as one long story, so that 2 picked up where number 1 left off, 3 picks up exactly where number 2 left off, and somehow I had the momentum of the idea that Subspecies was going to be a series, that at the end of part 3, I left it very open-ended, and they get away from Radu. Radu seems to be dead, but there was no real resolution for Michelle. And I think the people that liked the series were a little distraught with me for not, resolving the story properly. And I felt it when I watched it, that there was like something left hanging. But always in my mind there was the hope that we would get around to doing part 4.
It has been 6 years since we made part 2 and part 3. And those were made back to back, as you know, over a course of 3 months. And came back and they, put out part 2, put out part 3 a couple years later. And apparently there had been a lot of fan mail. And people wanted to know, does Michelle make it back to the States? Does Radu come back to life? And so I had gotten a call from the production office, and at the time I was like completely bleach blonde. And because I had taken a bit of a hiatus actually from acting, I had went and had myself a kid. And so I took some time off and always wanted to bleach my hair. So I got this call and I thought, I was really like not in the acting mode, but I just couldn't have somebody else be Michelle.
This poor child has been ravaged by a vampire.
A vampire?
I started out with a script that was going to pick up right where number 3 left off and carry on with the story of Michelle and Rebecca, Michelle's sister, and Mel Thompson from the U.S. Embassy. Wrote a script that in which they took Michelle to a clinic and tried to cure her of her vampirism, either through blood transfusions or whatever kind of nutty Romanian scientific technology might exist at the time. Wrote that script, and then when we set about trying to get everybody back together again, and Honest got aboard really fast. Denise really wanted to do it. Melanie was kind of busy with her own career at the moment, and Kevin suddenly got a soap opera and couldn't do it. So I kind of went back to Charlie and said, you know what, maybe we've got to rethink this, because I couldn't really see continuing the series without the same actors. So we went back to an idea that we had always kind of played with when we were shooting Subspecies 2 and 3, when I'd be sort of pissed off at everybody, and I'd say, you know what, in Subspecies 4, you guys are going to die in a car wreck.
When I first read the script, it had my sister in it, and it had the American Embassy man. But the revision of it, I actually really liked the revision of it. I felt it was a little more focused towards the vampire part of the story. And to be able to work with Ted again, who's so silly, he's so charming. It's just odd that a man who's so sweet and silly could make such dark, gothic drama. And he does a brilliant job at it, so I was really looking forward that he also was going to be directing it. There needed to be some stable through line. If I couldn't have my sister, and if I couldn't have, the American Embassy guy, then I had Ted, and of course, Honest.
Michelle, I can save you from this storm, and if you will come to me of your own free will.
Never.
It was interesting because bringing Honest back and Denise back, they kind of already are their characters, and it's a matter of really getting Honest kind of back into the bitter sickness of that character, and Denise trying to get her down into that place in her, which is that dying to escape from this evil that's like kind of growing within her. And so with Denise, it's like a more emotional kind of battle for her to kind of get to that place, because she's basically really kind of peppy and happy and likes to enjoy her daily life, and then to reach in to find that place of tragedy. It's like a real, it's a big stretch for her. So we, had some rehearsals, and basically it was like, oh yeah, we just left off 2 months ago, and here we are playing the same parts again. Let's just hit the ground running.
Now, prove yourself, Fledgling. Let there be a bloodbath.
I actually could get weepy over him, There's a part of me that just hates his guts sometimes for being so rude and crude. And yet, the admiration and love that I have for him as an artist and as a friend and someone who's like there for you, it is just huge. He has amazing natural instincts. And, no, he doesn't, he's not one of these actors that has to go and make a tomb of character notes. He's very visceral, he's very on the surface, and by now, especially, even for both of us, the character, it's pretty much on autopilot. I mean, he's got Radu down, and he knows, basically, if Ted is like suppressing a laugh during a take, he knows that he nailed it. There is a certain macabre sort of style of acting that Honest does that's so over the top, that's just so brilliantly him.
And you should fear me too. Because I'm a monster. As my child.
Master.
When I wrote Vampire Journals, I sort of included, just in kind of a line of dialogue, that Ash, the music-loving vampire, is descended from Radu of Transylvania, just because I wanted to begin to create that connection between all of these vampire stories.
Drink blood with us.
Ash comes in with the idea that he is the lord of his lair, and Honest comes in with the idea that he is the baddest ass vampire that ever lived. And so it was very funny the night that I introduced the two of them in the hotel bar at the Lebeda, and just watched the kind of strange dynamics. And the moment when Jonathan understood that Radu is the master and Ash is the protege in this case.
You could see when they were performing together, there was almost this fear of Jonathan for Honest, and with Honest there was this joy, this opportunity to be able to put a knife to this Pilati boy. I mean, that's sort of my take on it, and it's said with love. But when somebody really just, it's completely not their philosophy, they're going to use that to feed them in a scene, and you can definitely see it with the two of them.
I've nurtured our holdings for 100 years. I have earned your generosity.
I generously give you till full moon to evacuate my stronghold. You and your fledglings must find a new sanctuary.
I set out in Subspecies 4 to kill Radu definitively. So that people who have watched this series up till now will feel some sense of closure for Denise, for Radu, and it's over. But Radu always manages to survive. I don't know how he's going to survive this one. I really have not the slightest idea.
There are drips of it. I mean, please, my daughter asked, what's that subspecies? And I tell her, it helps put Radu back together. And so, for the last couple weeks, I've been playing Let's Put Radu Back Together. And she's made the Tyrannosaurus Rex eat him. We've had, Willie the orca whale eat him. But that subspecies keeps putting him together. And if my 3-year-old can make that happen, then, the 30-year-old engineers who are doing the special effects can definitely do it.
When I think of subspecies, I think of Romania, castles, Transylvania, darkness, spending long nights on the streets of Bucharest, shadows flying over historic buildings.
I am proud that of all the girls that they saw 7 years ago, that I got this. And I had no idea that it was going to be such a well-received cult piece of vampiric history. It wasn't actually the path that I was going as an actress. I was doing a lot of primetime television shows, sitcom stuff, commercials. So the fact that I was able to just like throw down for this character and get it, and that it's become such a huge, important part of the sci-fi genre, is it's thrilling to me.
As I was killing him in this movie, I thought, die, you bastard. This is the end of this series. Having finished it, and missing Honest a little bit because he lives in Denmark and we just talk by phone, and missing Denise because she lives in LA but we still just talk by phone, and missing Romania and missing Adolfo, I don't know, I think maybe he could come back.